Hello and welcome to the Brick Shack. So today I thought I'd bring you a video showing these vehicles down here below the city, as I've not really talked much about them before. So if you've not seen, we do have the city up here on this big large table, and we did make a 6-part series building this not too long ago. But below this city is these shelves here which contain these large Technic vehicles. So today I thought I'd take you through all of what these vehicles are, and some of them you may not recognise because I believe a couple of them are not real Lego. So let's start over on the left and we'll work our way through them. So starting off with the 24-hour race car. This is a really nice looking Technic build, and I believe it's quite an old set now. But this is a great looking Technic model and looks exactly how a 24-hour race car should look. Now this was designed back when Technic was a little bit more simpler and things were left a little bit unfinished. So there are a lot more gaps in these older Technic models. But even for a quite old set now, this is still a brilliant looking model, and I personally think this is just a beautiful looking set. Now this set does have some functionality as well, so we can lift the bonnet or the hood. Unfortunately there is nothing in there, and as you can see how I was saying these older Technic models are quite a bit like framework. It could have something there just to cover that so you can't see straight through to the floor. And then of course it does have the steering knob on top which does turn the wheels. Most Technic cars of this scale will have that, and it has been a while since I've used these functions, but I believe you can open the doors as well as the back to show the engine, and that is done here with this control knob here. So you can switch between where the engine will lift up and the doors if you switch it to the other side. Then it also has a neutral position where it will do nothing in the centre. So I've now switched that to activate the doors, and then you have this little knob down here, this little cog, and then you just turn that until the doors will eventually open. And as you can see, these are a bit like gull wing doors, so they just open up like that. And inside we can just about see where the driver's seat is. And then to activate the back going up, all we have to do is just switch this knob back to the other side and then turn the same cog the same way, and now instead of doing the doors, that should open the back up. And as you can see, it's quite a slow process, but eventually we do get there, and then we can see the 8-cylinder engine in the back. So although this is quite an old set now, it really does have quite a bit of charm to this, and I really like the functions that it has. And also this set isn't skyrocketing in price, it's still quite affordable to this day. And then for the next one we have the F1 car. And this does exactly what you'd expect it to do. It just looks like an F1 car. I think they captured the shape of this almost perfectly. The nose on top of here does look a little bit unfinished, but for the year this was produced, it's really not bad at all. Again, we have the steering cog here. So you turn that and the wheels will of course turn. We've got a driver's seat in there. And then we have another 8-cylinder engine, just like the last car we saw. And then on the opposite side there is a cog, and if you keep turning that, that will open up eventually to show you the engine. And this one is extremely slow on this model, but we do eventually get there. And as you can see, the 8-cylinder engine there, and I really like the detail with these pieces here. I think that really adds a lot of detail to this engine. And then back here I believe we have a switch, so if we turn that all the way and then turn it, that activates the spoiler so you can control the aerodynamics of that. And that will eventually go up all the way like that. So that has some similar functionality to the last one we just saw, but they're really good features to have on these, and I think that's really all it needs. And then this one you might not recognise. This is an Audi R8, and it isn't actually a Lego build, but it is a Lego compatible product. But the quality of the pieces on this are really not bad at all, and are really quite close to Lego. And the build for this is really quite good as well. You can quite clearly see that this is an Audi R8, and I think the back of the model is quite accurately done as well. So for functionality, we can open up the bonnet, and these are quite hard to open as these are spring loaded, I believe. But we do have a little bit of boot space in there. Unfortunately, we don't get a luggage bag like the large Technic vehicles. One thing I do like about this set that I haven't seen Lego do is the lockable doors. So we do have the door handle there. You do have to turn it that way to be able to open it. And this has quite a nice interior inside, and we do have spring loaded doors as well. And then the engine compartment can open up as well, and that is spring loaded. And then we can just about see the engine in the back there. And then the steering on this model is located above the engine, so we just turn this knob here and that will turn the wheels at the front. So that's really not a bad model at all, considering it's not real Lego. it fits into the other cars just fine. And for someone who's not a Lego nerd, you really can't tell that this isn't Lego. So this one isn't Lego either. This is a Carda Ferrari Pista. And I have actually made a video about this set. So if you want to know more about that, I'll leave that linked below. But I think this is an absolutely beautiful looking model. I think they captured the look of the Ferrari 488 Pista perfectly. Just every angle of this vehicle, I think, is captured absolutely perfectly. I don't think there's any different pieces that could be used to make it any better. So for functionality, of course, we can lift the bonnet up. Now, unfortunately, this is quite flimsy on this. It is really the only downside of this model. But as you can see, we do have quite a lot of room inside for boot space. And then again, on this model, we have lockable doors. So first of all, we have to open that up, and then we put it open. And then we can see quite a bit of interior inside there. And we do even have paddle shifters like some of the Lego models have. And then for the back of the model, we of course have the engine in there. Not much to say about that. It's just a nice looking engine. Now, unfortunately, with this model, I don't believe there's any turning knob to control the steering. But really, it's not that big of a deal, as I'm not going to use it for play features. It's most likely just going to be left on the shelf. So this one has to be absolutely one of my favourites. This is, of course, the Lego Technic Lamborghini Sian. I think just the shape of this and the colour works perfectly together and really makes it stand out. I just love the look of the headlights on this car. And even the back looks quite nice with those design cues from the Countach. So for functionality, of course, we can lift this up here, and we do actually have a serial number in here, and I believe every single serial number is different, and it does include a luggage bag for this car as well, which just slots into this compartment here. And then the spoiler can go up and down, and that is controlled by a switch on the inside near the passenger seat. And then to activate the doors, we have these two switches here. You just press those down, and that activates the scissor doors. And then if we remove this back panel, that gives us access to the engine. And that is quite a heavily well detailed engine in there. And that set also does come with this little plaque here as well. So next we have the first one of the 1:8 scale Lego Technic car series. That of course was the Porsche 911 GT3 RS. And I believe this is quite a hard model to find these days, and they're fetching quite a lot of money on eBay. But again, with this one, I don't believe there is any steering to control the front wheels. Correct me if I am wrong on that, but I can't see any cog to control that. So like many of the other Technic vehicles, of course the bonnet or the hood can open up, and we do have this nice looking bag in here. Of course the doors can open up, and we do have the paddle shifter gearbox inside, which does actually work. Now, of course, the functions of those gears are quite hard to see in these Technic models without power functions. So unfortunately, I can't show you that working. But then for the back of the model, we can lift up the boot. And of course, like many Porsches, the engine is of course in the back. Unfortunately, it's not as detailed as the other cars' engines, as it is quite tucked away inside there. But this is still a brilliant looking model and fits in with the other three 1:8 scale cars I have perfectly. So next we have the Bugatti Chiron. And I really like the two-tone on this with the light blue and the dark blue. And I really think they captured the look of this vehicle almost perfectly, just like the other ones. They are really good at designing these vehicles. So for functions, of course, this does open again. And we do have quite a smaller bag in here. Again, we have the serial number, which is different for every model. And then this one does have quite a nice interior on the inside, just like a real Chiron would have. And then I think the back of this model looks brilliant as well. And then the spoiler here can go up and down as well. And that is by using this key here. Now, it has been a while since I've used that function, so I can't actually remember where that key slots into, but I'm sure it's somewhere at the back here. And that just makes the spoiler go up and down. And then we have the Ferrari 488 race car. This one is not a bad model, but I wouldn't say it's one of the best they've made. I think it would have been better if the headlights were brick built, a bit like the 488 Pista up here, instead of being printed. Now, unfortunately for functions, the only feature I can find is that the doors open and close. Anything else doesn't open. So I might have missed some functionality of this, but from what I can see, this is lacking in functions. But it's still a brilliant looking display piece, regardless of that. Then we have the Land Rover Defender. I think this is a brilliant looking model. I really like the ruggedness of this vehicle, and I think they captured the look of a Land Rover Defender pretty much perfectly. So for functionality, we can turn this tyre at the back, and that will open up the back door. And that allows us to see some of the gear mechanism inside. We also have a roof box. Unfortunately, there is nothing inside. And we also have these plates here, which I believe would help you get out of the mud. You would just put them underneath the tyre like that, and that would help you get out. So this one does have steering. We do have the steering knob there, and that will turn the wheels. And then a brilliant feature of this model is, of course, the winch. So if we hold that down there, now unfortunately I'm going to have to do this with 2 hands, but if we hold that down, we can pull the winch out like that. And then to get the winch back in, we just turn this knob here until it fully goes back into where it should go. And then for interior, it's really not a bad interior in here. It could be better, but it's not bad for what it is. But I think that's a brilliant looking model. I really can't complain about this one at all. And then we have the Porsche 911 RSR. This one is another brilliant looking race car. I really like the look of this and really clever usage of these pieces here to create the headlights. And then I really like the back of this model with that big diffuser. And then if we open up the back, we can just about see the engine in there. And then unfortunately, this is lacking for interior detail, but for a race car, it's sort of what you would expect. And then unfortunately, the bonnet can't open, it is fixed in. So the only functions of this are that the doors open and the back to see the engine opens as well. And I also believe the wing on my one isn't quite accurately placed, so that might not be quite accurate to the instructions, as I did have to remove that and put it back on. But I think this is a really nice looking car, and it's a good alternative if you don't want to get the orange Porsche there. And then for the last one is the Ford GT40. This again is not a real Lego one, but it is a Lego compatible. And this one is another really nice looking car. I think they really captured the details of this perfectly. You can really see the detail of where the exhaust and the taillights are, as well as the engine in the back here. And then I really like the doors on this as well. Like a real GT40, part of the roof comes out with it. So I really like the function of that. And then we do have steering, like the other ones, with this control knob here. That will control the wheels. Really, that's all the function is on this vehicle. There's really not much function to it, but it is a brilliant looking display piece, and it's nice to have a GT40 that unfortunately Lego doesn't make. But there we are then, that pretty much sums up my large Technic collection of vehicles. So we currently have 11 of these at the moment. There is one more space over there, and that space will be reserved for the Ferrari Daytona SP3. But that is quite an expensive set right now, so I will wait for that to be about a third off or so. So hopefully in the future we'll get our hands on that, and that will be added to the collection. But I really like having these Technic cars here, and I think they look perfect underneath the city. And because these cars are so large, it's quite hard to display these. So I think it's brilliant to have this sort of display option underneath the city for these to go in. Now we do have some other Technic cars around at the Brick Shack. So we do have the Dodge Charger, and then we do have the Ford Raptor truck there as well. But those are a little bit on the smaller side, so I decided not to put them down here with these ones. But that pretty much sums up my large Technic cars. So I hope you've all enjoyed seeing all of those there. But that's all for today, and I'll see you all later.